Good evening. The gods of news are fickle. There are days when huge stories happen in front of the cameras and the microphones, and life as a journalist is frankly pretty easy. And yesterday was one of those days. And then there are days when whatever happens, happens silently, behind closed doors, and you can do whatever you like. You can make a blood sacrifice of a young researcher, or set fire to a heap of laptop computers and dance round them, and none of it makes a blind bit of difference. The news gods don't care. And today, my friends, is one of those days. Stuff is happening, all right. The government's hinting about drastic cuts ahead. Lower pensions, perhaps. Cuts to health and welfare. Short-term cuts even to defence. But what we might call this is kite flying, trying out ideas for cuts to see what would cause the most political trouble and preparing the ground so that whatever is finally announced on Halloween doesn't seem quite so bad compared to the ghoulish predictions. Now, yesterday I said I thought which individual actually became Prime Minister after Liz Truss was less important outside the bubble than the economic crisis confronting us all. And I still think that, but for what it's worth, there do seem to be three people eyeing each other and wondering which will replace Liz Truss. One is the effective Prime Minister, Jeremy Hunt. He's got a timing issue. The longer he's running the shop, the more established he'll seem and the stronger his position. But if he leaves it too long, his will be the face of Tory cuts, and he doesn't want that. And then there's Rishi Sunak, the most powerful critic of the disastrous Truss economic experiment. He'd be most feared by Labour, I think, because the country remembers him from the pandemic. But inside the Tory party, there are too many Boris Johnson supporters who view him as the destroyer of their hero. So if he's got to get the top job, he needs the help of others. And the third person in the ring is Penny Mordaunt. Some say Boris Johnson deliberately kept her away from the dispatch box in the old days in the House of Commons because she was too good and he didn't want to be overshadowed. Well, she was very good yesterday. On balance, I think this might be a moment to pop out and buy a few Mordants. But all day, the three of them were eyeing one another and wondering who would blink first. Not literally, they're not actually in the same room, though perhaps soon they will be, but nobody is blinking yet. Now, the last thing that happened today was that the cabinet minister most favoured by party members as the next Prime Minister, the Defence Secretary, Ben Wallace, went to Washington at very short notice. What did he mean by that? Was he just trying to show that you could go to the States without being sacked? Was it some kind of obscure plot? No, I don't think so. I'm told he went to talk to the Americans about what the UK and the US would do if Putin used tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine, blurring the lines as he once did with biological and chemical weapons in Syria, or if the nuclear power station at Zaporizhzhia was hit and a plume started to spread west, or if the Russians succeeded in shutting down Ukraine's energy system this winter. Scary stuff. Sometimes, if the news gods aren't playing nice, perhaps it's safer just to leave them alone.